The cyst beside Kevin's left eye had grown to painful proportions. It now stung so bad he had to sleep with the right side of his face pressed against the pillow. One morning, he awoke to find the cyst had sprouted a tiny eye. By the time he got to the hospital, it had developed a second eye, nostrils, and a thin set of lips. Kevin begged the doctor to remove it, but he wouldn't. Not until they understood what they were dealing with. Reluctantly, Kevin agreed to stay overnight for observation. The following morning, he felt a tickling sensation. Without thinking, he rubbed the left side of his face and felt something peculiar. It was a tiny pair of hands and feet. Kevin rushed to the mirror, then screamed. Growing from the left-hand side of his face was a prenatal baby, attached to Kevin by the right-hand side of its face. Kevin told the doctor if he didn't remove the thing right away, he'd cut it off himself. The doctor rushed Kevin to the operating room and prepped him for surgery. Before the doctor could make the first incision, the cyst opened its mouth, smiled, and said, "Hi there, I'm Kevin." It had such a cute voice. The doctor couldn't bring himself to perform the procedure. The cyst would have to stay. In the space of a few short weeks, the cyst grew into a full-blown adult. And what's worse, it looked exactly like Kevin. At first, Kevin's family and friends were uncomfortable with there being two of him, but eventually, other Kevin won them over with his charming personality. It wasn't much fun for Kevin. Other Kevin constantly interrupted his conversations, and whenever Kevin told a joke, other Kevin would repeat it right after and get a bigger laugh. The final straw came when Kevin's girlfriend decided she wanted to start seeing other people. And by other people, she meant other Kevin. Kevin begged countless doctors to separate him from other Kevin, but no surgeon in the world would dare attempt such a reckless procedure. Just when he thought things couldn't get any worse, Kevin started shrinking. Now whenever he and other Kevin walked around, other Kevin had to tilt his head to one side so Kevin's feet could touch the floor. Kevin's friends started sending event invitations to other Kevin instead of him, and they ignored Kevin when he tried to join their conversations. He continued to shrink, becoming little more than an infant with a wrinkled adult face. Now, whenever other Kevin went outside, people did their best not to notice Kevin at all. Before long, he completely shriveled up and receded into the space beside other Kevin's right eye. One morning, other Kevin looked in the mirror. His unsightly growth had almost disappeared. It no longer hurt when he put pressure on it. He leaned forward, pinched it between his thumb and forefinger, and gave it a gentle squeeze. If you're enjoying the video so far, please leave a like to help the video reach others. If you want weekly creepypasta and true scary stories, subscribe now and ring the bell. Enjoy the rest of the video.
We've been together for a while, and had kind of fallen into our routines, you know. Love is a choice, and I choose to love him every day, but I can admit the passion might have fallen to the wayside. And look, I didn't have a problem with him watching porn, but this stuff was just weird. I'll just start from the beginning. I'll start when things fell apart. It was April, and we were going a little stir-crazy being trapped in the apartment together. Both of our jobs became work from home, and suddenly, We had way more free time than we knew what to do with. I tried to maintain a decent sleep schedule out of some clawing yearning for normalcy, but he stayed up all night. Sometimes I'd wake up when he finally came to bed and I'd see that it was 5 to 6 in the morning. He'd sleep until late afternoon and do it all over again. I admit I was frustrated with him. I was lonely and our sex life had completely dropped off the map. I decided to confront him one night. After I'd been tossing and turning, unable to sleep, I went out to the living room and found him jerking himself off vigorously. Think death grip stuff. Anyway, I was embarrassed and went back to bed. But it kept happening every night, and eventually I snapped. I just wanted to be able to walk to the kitchen without seeing whatever beautiful woman my boyfriend preferred to me, you know? So I just walked to the kitchen one night, flipped on the light, and made it obvious I was up. And well, he didn't stop. It was almost trance-like. I stood in the kitchen and said his name over and over again. But he didn't hear me, or chose not to. He was watching some kind of spiral video thing. I figured maybe he had a hypnosis fetish. Not super weird in the grand scheme of things, but it was new to me. I googled it and tried to incorporate it into the bedroom, but he just brushed me off as always. Nothing changed. Look, I know what I did was a violation of his privacy, but I was pissed. I looked through his computer one day. It was mostly normal stuff. Video games, Reddit, YouTube videos, etc. Then I looked through his save files. There must have been hundreds of these spiral videos. I clicked one and it began to play, but there was no noise. I checked the speaker setting on his computer, but they were all normal. It just didn't have any sound. I just couldn't believe that this completely wordless video was what was stealing my boyfriend from me every night. It wasn't even porn, for God's sakes. I was reading in the living room when he woke up that afternoon. He stomped in more furious than I'd ever seen him.
What the fuck were you doing on my computer yesterday?
He demanded. I wasn't on your computer yesterday, I lied.
Oh yes you were. I'm not an idiot. Computers have a history, Becca, and she told me.
I paused. Who the fuck was she? And look, I feel like I haven't seen you in weeks, even though we lived together. I just wanted to know what was on there that was so much more important to you than our relationship, I said, slamming my book on the table.
I'm not dealing with this.
He turned around and sat at his computer. It honestly felt like I'd never been there at all with how resolutely he was ignoring me. That night I told him I was heading for bed, and he never even flinched. Just kept playing with whatever video game was his current obsession. I walked to bed, feeling more hurt than I'd ever felt before. It's a really sad feeling to feel so rejected from someone who was supposed to love you. I could either try to save this relationship, or I could just pack my things and go. But I didn't have anywhere to go. We were only 4 months into our lease renewal, and I couldn't afford to pay both leases. I'd have to fix this. Not just for him, but for his own financial well-being. So I crept to the door, determined to make him have an adult conversation with me for once. I stopped just before opening it, though. I could hear voices outside, and I recognized his murmurs.
Of course I'll do it, you know I will.
He said, something low in response that I couldn't make out.
She won't be a problem.
Another reply.
Yes,
There was a silence for maybe a minute.
Yes, I'll take care of her.
Oh God, I thought to myself, he was cheating on me. That goddamn bastard was cheating on me with some e-whore or whatever they call themselves. I was determined to catch him in the act, though. No way was he going to spin this as me being crazy to our friends. I was going to have goddamn receipts. I scorned the apartment the next day while he was asleep. I pored over bank statements and was shocked to find that he was almost completely broke. He'd taken all the money we've been saving to buy a house and had sent it to some offshore bank account thousands of dollars were gone. He'd bought a knife on Amazon. Did you know you can even buy a hunting knife on Amazon? You can. It hadn't been delivered yet, but I saw it was arriving today. Plane tickets too. Stupid cheap because of the pandemic. He was going to Brazil, apparently. Maybe he'd gotten his whore vacation. God, I was going to bury this dude. Then I saw him in the hallway.
Becca, get the fuck off of my computer.
What is this shit, Sean? And don't lie to me because I know all about your little girl you've got on the side. How do you even manage to cheat in a goddamn pandemic, you asshole? I yelled. Then the screen of his computer went black. We both stared at it for a moment, unsure what to do next. Then the spiral started playing. I looked up at him and saw him staring at it completely enraptured. Drool leaked down the side of his chin. Sean? I asked, suddenly very afraid. He walked calmly to the kitchen, muttering under his breath the entire time. Something about making a deal, doing the right thing, keeping promises. Then he slipped the bread knife out of the knife block. I remember thinking a bread knife was a weird choice at the time. He held it loosely at his side and stared into the computer screen. Sean? I asked again. I looked back at the computer screen. Same spiral, no noise. I had no idea what he was listening for. I couldn't hear a single thing. He nodded, took a deep sigh, walked towards me. What, are you going to stab me with a fucking bread knife? I asked. I tried to sound more confident than I was. In the 5 years we've been together, Sean has never shown the slightest hint of violence. He was a puppy dog, really. He seemed more rabid now, though. The drool at his mouth was frothing. He looked like the poster child for rabies. So I ran. I slammed the bedroom door behind me and threw my entire body weight against it to keep it shut. He was hammering now, and I knew eventually he was going to break the entire thing down. Then, like clockwork, the wood splintered, and I saw him there. He looked so sad.
Becca,
He choked out.
please.
Our entire lives were gone now. We'd never decorate the Christmas tree together again. We'd never go back to swim at the lake. We'd never make dumb jokes, cuddle together close in bed again. I didn't want to leave it behind, any of it. I loved him, and I knew he loved me too. He stood there before me, tears streaming down his face.
Becca!
He pleaded, then raised the knife again. I sprinted past him faster than I'd ever run in my entire life. He just stood there and watched me leave. I burst out the front door and collapsed halfway down the street. The neighbors called the police, but by the time they came, Sean was gone and his computer was wiped. I don't know where he went, but I think the only reason I escaped was because there was a small part of him that let me get away. Everyone chalked it up to domestic abuse, but I know Sean's mom never really believed me. I moved away, changed my name, and changed my entire life. I was panicky and didn't leave the apartment, terrified I'd see him somewhere on the street, but still hoping I'd see him and he'd be okay again somehow. It was okay for a couple months, until I got an email. No subject, no sender even, just a file. I knew what was inside.
Thank you to Curious Raven for taking the reins on today's story. Your storytelling is fantastic, and I look forward to seeing more content from your channel. If you want to see more of her, click her logo on the video or click the link in the description. If this Creepypasta from Reddit compilation was enjoyable for you, click the playlist on the screen for more creepy stories. Every episode is uploaded to the SilverThreads podcast, so check that out if you prefer just the audio. Thank you all for listening, and I'll see you next time with another story.